Hey everybody, it's Columbus Wired's Andy Evans coming at you here with the Ohio State-Iowa pregame preview. But before I get into that, I do first want to issue an apology to one Joseph Thomas Barrett IV. Before Penn State's game last weekend, I said that if Ohio State expected to win the game, the one thing they should not ask JT Barrett to do was sit in the pocket and throw the football. I've been saying up to that point all year long that JT is a great quarterback, a great athlete, a winner, has helped Ohio State win a lot of games, but he's just not a pocket passing quarterback. And boy, was I wrong. 16 straight passes completed to end the game. 13 of 13 there in the fourth quarter. 170 yards, 3 touchdowns. And as we now know, helped Ohio State complete one of the greatest comebacks ever in OSU history. And of course, all he did in that game was go on to become the Big Ten's leading touchdown passer. Nobody has now thrown more touchdown passes in Big Ten history than JT Barrett. 91. Now, I know he probably was going to break that at some point, right? But to do it in the Penn State game in that crazy comeback fashion, unbelievable. And he now owns the total offensive single game record, breaking Art Schleister's 412 yards that Schleister set against Florida State in 1981. JT Barrett now owns that record after having put up 423 yards of total offense against the nation's, at the time, the nation's number one passing efficiency defense. A team that came in leading the Big Ten with 24 sacks. Barrett was sacked twice in the first quarter, and after that, the offensive line was an absolute stalwart. I mean, a brick wall. So it wasn't just JT. I mean, the receivers played great. KJ Hill, an unbelievable game. Career high 12 catches, 102 yards. After that first quarter, I mean, all bets were off as far as who was going to win this game. Of course, it seemed like Penn State was going to win it. I mean, they're up 21-3 at one point. They're up 28-10. Even going into the fourth quarter, it seemed like it was almost in the bag as far as Penn State walking away with a nice victory. And I mean, the Buckeyes scratched and clawed their way back. So, like I said, though, it wasn't just JT. I mean, the receivers played great. The offensive line just came together and gelled nicely. Billy Price earlier this week said that was really the first game that the offensive line had to really play 4 quarters of football. And you could tell that they were on a mission after allowing 2 sacks there in the first quarter. So my apologies to you, Mr. Barrett. I'm sorry for doubting your abilities. You far exceeded any expectations I had of you being able to sit back in the pocket and throw the football. And tip of the cap to you. So having said that, now they've got the Hawkeyes this weekend in Iowa City, Kinnick Stadium, 3:30 kickoff. And some people have been saying this is a trap game. Some people are saying, well, after, the physical and mental exertion that the Buckeyes had to put on in that comeback against Penn State, do they really have it in them to be able to hit the road, go out to Iowa City, and win a football game against a decent Iowa team? I mean, they're 5-3 right now, 2-3 in the conference. But Iowa's one of those teams that, don't count them out. I mean, we saw what happened in Kinnick Stadium last year against Michigan. We saw what they almost did to Penn State earlier this year. They gave Michigan their first loss last year. They almost beat Penn State, had Penn State not put together a crazy 2-minute drive at the end of the game and score a crazy touchdown with just seconds left to go in the game. But still, this is an Iowa team that you don't count them out. They although on paper, statistically, I mean, they're very average. They do have a couple of things to hold their hat on. Their passing defense is not great. Their passing defense is like, oh, Lord, where are we at here? Let me scroll up. Sorry. They're like 11th in the conference right now in passing defense. I mean, they give up 223 yards a game. However, passing efficiency defense, that's where they're a little bit better. They're right now fourth in the conference at a 108.1. They're actually tied with Michigan State for fourth in the conference, just barely behind Penn State, who's third right now at an even 108 passing efficiency defense. What does that mean? That means that they've gotten a lot of interceptions. In fact, right now they're tied for second in the Big Ten with 9 interceptions. And they've only given up 7 touchdowns through the air. So, once again, look at what JT did against the top-rated passing efficiency defense in the country last week. Why the hell can't he do that again, right? Well, after a game like Penn State, this is something that you do have to look out for. Can you get up for a game like this again? Urban, JT, Billy Price, other guys on the team were asked, do you feel like this is a trap game? Do you feel like this is a game that, Iowa could knock you off? And once again, we've seen what Iowa can do to teams in their own stadium. And they basically said that execution is critical. Following their assignments, executing the game plan. JT said after the win against Penn State that essentially Urban tells them, hey guys, you execute the game plan, you will come out as a winner. And as long as Ohio State does that, I think that they've got this game in the bag. However, I do think it's going to be a close one. Iowa, once again, statistically, offensively, average. They're a total offense right now that ranks like 10th in the conference. They're averaging 345 offensive yards a game. Total defense, they're very average as well. So I think that this is an Ohio State team that can put it all together as long as they execute, and they'll be able to get the job done. 17-5-2 is Ohio State overall in Kinnick Stadium. Their last loss there was in 2004. Was a bad loss, 33-7. Urban's first time, though, as head coach, coaching in Kinnick Stadium. Now, he's coached one time against Iowa prior in 2013. And Ohio State was able to get the win. That was here in the Horseshoe. But otherwise, Urban's only had one other time that he's actually coached in Kinnick Stadium. That was 1986. He was on Earl Bruce's staff as a grad assistant coaching the tight ends. They did win that game in 1986. But otherwise, Urban doesn't have a lot of familiarity of coaching over there in Iowa City. And this will be, like I said, the first time as a head coach. But I think that the Buckeyes get it done. I want to see them come out and conserve JT Barrett and his energy. I really want to see them get the ground game rolling. I said it last week against Penn State. I'm going to say it again. I want to see more J.K. Dobbins. I mean, at one point last week, 4 carries for 50 yards, and then we didn't hear from the kid at all, like the remainder of the first half. Kind of mind-boggling, a little bit of a head-scratcher. So give me more J.K., Urban, and Kevin Wilson. Let the kid run the football. Get Mike Weber in there. I'm sure JT's going to have a couple of carries here and there, but let these kids run the football, establish some control early in the game, because quite frankly, if Ohio State gets down again, especially like they did against Penn State, which I don't think that's going to happen against Iowa, even with the game being over there, but nonetheless, if they let that happen, I'm not so sure that they could come back. I mean, to do what they did against Penn State, to do it a second week in a row and on the road and in a fairly hostile place like Iowa City, that might be a tall order to ask. So I say give the ball to JK, let the kid pile up about 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's what I'd love to see. Give Weber his shot, let him run for about 75, 80 yards or so and maybe a score. JT's going to have to throw the ball. I'm expecting about 250 yards through the air for him. Maybe throws a pick, maybe doesn't. At this point, dude's only thrown one, and he didn't throw any last week. So, and you never know. You never know what can happen, right? It's hard to say, oh, he is or he isn't going to throw a pick. But having done what he did against the nation's top-rated passing defense, I don't see any reason why he can't go over there and at least throw for about 250, 275 yards and maybe a couple of touchdowns. So ultimately, I think Ohio State comes away with a win. I think it's going to be kind of close, though. Iowa's, they're one of those teams that, they scratch and claw. And but I just think that Ohio State's talent is going to be too much for Iowa. And their game plan and execution is going to be too much for Kirk Ferentz and the Hawkeyes to overcome. So my final score, your 6th ranked, 7-1, 5-0 overall in the Big Ten Ohio State Buckeyes will defeat the 5-3, 2-3 in the Big Ten Iowa Hawkeyes in Kinnick Stadium, 31-16. There you have it. For Columbus Wired, I'm Andy Evans. Thanks for watching.